Hello, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz, where we are promoting jazz through telling the stories. Our guest today is the wonderful jazz bassist and percussionist, Mr. Corcoran Holt. We ask you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so we can let you know when we are posting another video or going live. We also ask you to donate to our Cash App in order to support the channel and help us to produce future videos. Our Cash App is $Jazzology 101. That's $Jazzology 101. Enjoy the video. Hi, I'm saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz. Our guest today is one of the young lions of the acoustic bass. He has performed with the likes of Wycliffe Gordon, Steve Turre, Jimmy Heath, Benny Golson, John Hicks, Eric Reed, Jimmy Cobb, Al Foster, and more. And of course, one of my personal favorites, the great Kenny Garrett. He also serves as a djembe drummer and a music therapist at Greater Harlem Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, where he plays for his elders. Please welcome my brother, Mr. Corcoran Holt.
Hey,
how you doing, good brother?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. It's good to see you, man.
Likewise, man. It's been a minute.
A long minute.
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
This is a conversation in jazz where we get to learn more about how you got to where you are.
Okay.
Okay, and but before that, man, I just want to tell you how proud I am of you, because I think I've known you pre-Dread.
Yep. You know me, right? That's right. A long time ago.
Yeah, and man, you know, not only am I proud of you, DC is proud of you, the DMV is proud of you, man, because you've done some amazing things, man, and you're just a good stand-up brother, a family man, and represent. Man, congratulations on all your success.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. So I want to ask you something before we get into talking about you. I want to talk about your hair.
Okay.
Because I think I like I said, I knew you, I think, prior to growing. So how long has you've been growing your
man,
your
I've been growing my locks since I'd have to say prime, well, a little bit before prime of my senior year in high school.
Okay.
So I would say like late 99, early 2000.
Okay.
I mean, I trimmed them a little bit.
Yeah, but you let them.
But I let them, let them.
Now, is there some significance in the hair? Now, what's that in the Bible we talk about? What's his name? Samson and Delilah.
Right. Well, I think that it's funny because I've had my hair so long that I don't really think about it as much anymore. But I've definitely had it through some very some growing times in my life.
Yeah.
So I think that it does hold some sort of significance as far as like certain energy and stories and history.
Gotcha.
So it's a lot. It's a lot in there.
So you don't ever intend on cutting them off?
Sometimes I do, man. I mean, that's not for me. It's not like I won't be me without my hair.
Gotcha.
But I've had dreams where I have cut my hair, and then I'm like. Then I'm like freaking out in the dream, like, oh, hold on, did I really do this? And then I'm like, oh, now I look like I'm 12 years old. You know what I'm saying? I started growing my hair because I always had like a baby face, and everybody always thought I was way younger than I was. And then so I just had hair, and so it's a part of me, man.
All right,
it's a part of me.
So, man, I always ask people, like, I want to ask you, who is Corcoran Holt? Like,
well, I'm a man. I'm 39 years old.
You 39?
I'm 39, man. Wow. I'm 39, and I'm from Washington D.C.
Yeah.
I'm from here. Where we're sitting. I've always been very family oriented. I come from a community and a culture where I'm really proud of my heritage.
Yes.
Grew up in an Afrocentric community in D.C.
Okay.
started in music when I was young.
Okay.
When I was 4 or 5, started playing West African percussion, djembe, samba, doom doom, part of a dance company over in Northeast near Hot Feet Studios, actually, in a dance place. It was called Wose. So my father and my mother, they were very heavy into the community here in DC. Beautiful. And that kind of was rooted me into kind of knowing what I wanted to do. So I always knew I wanted to be a musician from the age of 5.
So how has it seems like you had very supportive parents?
Yeah, for sure.
So how's that helped your musical journey?
They've always been very encouraging.
Really?
You know, because you go through different stages. You know, when you're a kid and you're playing music, you know, and that's something to like that I kind of fell in love with it. You know, like early, and that became my family.
Gotcha.
You know, going to drum class, that became my family. Then later on, when I was 10, with DC Youth Orchestra program, that became my family.
Wow.
Then later on, Duke Ellington School of Arts became my family. So and you know, you go through different things. So my parents always encouraged me to find joy in what it was. And the older I got, you know, when you start paying your bills from doing what you do, you know, you run into these different obstacles. Yeah. You know, leaving DC, going to New York. I remember my father. I was like, Dad, you know, this is cool. I'm working, but I'm not working like enough to really take care of everything I'm doing. He said, and he told me, he said, look, man, have faith. You know, be good to the music, and then the music's gonna be good to you. So he always had these little things that he would say to me to encourage me to know that I was on the right path, and that
I also think parents instill confidence when you got supportive parents. You can go out in the world with a certain level of confidence,
for sure.
You know, and a sense of security in yourself.
Yep. So. And they built that up. You know, they installed that in me.
I've always kind of seen that in you, that you were always, you know, you was always assured and that sort of thing.
So somewhat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like if I would run into you, like I remember one time at HR 57, man. I was supposed to play with you one night. I was you probably don't even remember this.
I sure don't.
But I walked in, and I think you had double booked me and Gavin Fallow on the same gig.
Really?
Yeah, and I got there like 2 minutes late or something like that, and Gavin was already playing.
Oh, wow.
And I stayed and I watched that check, but I was cool with it. I was cool with it because I was always just trying to soak up the knowledge, man.
Okay.
And I would run into you. I would run into Thad.
Yeah.
You know, Nasser. You know, all of the older guys that were, you know, that were older than me.
Yeah.
You know, big brother figures and, you know, Baba figures. You know, and I remember I would see you in the corner. You be warming up.
Yeah.
In the corner at HR, and I'm like, whoa, like, you know, this cat is like, you know, is the truth, you know. So I just, you know, that also, those moments of seeing y'all play, you know, when I was really young, and being able to do it and be able to have that conversation on the bandstand and be able to enjoy it. I could see the passion and what y'all were doing, you know, and even raising your families and stuff like that. Yeah. You know, that kind of put confidence in me as well, and kind of motivated me to continue to go on and do what I wanted to do. You know. Wow,
man. Well, you've taken it and gone like to a whole nother level with it. Wow. So, I just want to know what's this musical journey been like for you?
The musical journey has been it's been everything that I've dreamt of, man. I can't even lie, man. I always set out goals. You know, I remember sitting on the back porch when I was in high school. Yeah. You know, talking to my best friends, you know, Eric Wheeler. Yeah. Another great bassist. Yeah, you know, and we be rapping. You know, we be rapping and we talk about things that we wanted to do in our lives. And I always wanted to go to New York because I would look at movies and I would listen to recordings and you know, and I always dreamt of that. So the journey was interesting, you know, at first going from Duke Ellington, you know, fast forwarding a bit. You know, I told you I came up here in DC in the Afrocentric community, but I started playing bass when I was 10 at DC Youth Orchestra. My father signed me up on bass because I was playing percussion. I wanted to play drums, but there were no available spots. So he signed me up on bass because it holds the time, like the drums. And my great grandfather was a jazz bass player.
We're gonna talk about and
all of that stuff. So we'll get to all of that, right? So going to Duke Ellington, fast forward and going there and being around all these bassists that I came up with: Amin, Salim, Eric Wheeler, Ben Williams.
Wow.
You know, we were there and we fed off of each other.
Gotcha.
You know, David Yarbrough mentored me. He helped groom me into professional at a very young age.
Wow.
So after that, when I went to Shenandoah Conservatory for undergrad school, you know, from 2000 to 2004, it was the polar opposite of DC. Going out to the mountains and being in a small town, but it gave me an opportunity to practice, to listen to the recordings, to be so familiar with the recordings that I felt like I knew John Coltrane, I knew Freddie Hubbard, I knew Clifford Brown, I knew Woody Shaw, I really knew Duke Ellington. You know, it was just because that's all I had.
Yeah. So you used to visualize like where you wanted to be?
I did. Wow. I used to visualize, and I would always do that. I would go in the practice room, I would close my eyes, and I'd say, all right, I'm in Virginia, in the middle of nowhere. Let's act like we're in New York. Let's act like we're in DC. Let's have that focus.
Wow.
And then Michael Bowie.
Yeah.
When I was in Shenandoah, he put me on a gig at Blues Alley in 2002 with Curtis Fuller Sextet.
Wow.
And from that point on, that kind of that I didn't think I was ready, but Mike thought I was ready, and I guess he was right, and that put me in touch with everybody that I started working with throughout my career.
Well, that's heavy, man. When I get home today, I'm gonna do some visualization.
Yeah, you gotta I guess you gotta manifest. Your thoughts into what you want.
Yeah, thinking is very important, man. Sometimes we so busy trying to do and pay bills and make it happen or whatever that we don't sit still,
right,
and just see the vision, see the future. You know, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Because I need to do more of that.
We all do.
Yeah. So
especially now in this pandemic, bro.
So you're man, I got something I'm gonna throw in. Right. You're a native Washingtonian?
I am. Well, it's interesting. I always say I am. So my parents were born in DC, right? Okay. I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
But you know, my dad was in school down there. You know, my grandparents, who also live in D.C. and in Maryland. They migrated from North Carolina.
Gotcha.
So my dad was in school, and and I was born in Charlotte.
Okay.
And I was there when I was a little baby. Then we came back.
As far as you can remember.
So yeah, from what I can remember, I've been in D.C. Yeah.
What was it like? Around what time in the 80s, 90s?
Yeah,
were you kind of coming up?
I was all right. So let me see.
Because I remember when I got here in '87. I got DC in '87. This was a pretty rough place.
It was rough, man. I lived in Petworth during that time.
What part of?
That's not far from Howard University.
Okay, Northwest
DC.
Okay. What was it like for you coming up?
It was crazy, man. DC was a crazy place.
Yeah.
But I never felt unsafe.
Yeah.
I loved how I came up. I came up on Taylor Street. And row house, traditional DC row house. Was tight with my neighbors. A lot of kids in the neighborhood. We would play outside. There would be, it was crazy. It would be people selling crack all around.
Wow. Yeah.
You had the orange hats.
Yeah.
They would walk through, kind of patrol the neighborhood. Neighborhood stand-up people. We used to have bright lights at the top of the hill to keep the drug dealers away.
Wow.
But the drug, this is crazy, but this is real. The drug dealers never mess with the kids.
Yeah.
People, all the good and bad people in the neighborhood respected my father a lot because he had this presence, of like, you don't want to mess with him, but you're gonna respect him. He just had that. He was a very strong. He had a very strong persona and aura, and it was great, man. It was my folks. They would take me they put me in all sorts of activities from basketball camp. I went to Bunker Hill Elementary School over in Northeast. Which was at that time was 95% black. Then they put me in a private school in Kensington.
Now, do you have siblings?
I do. I have a little sister.
Okay.
She's 4 years younger than me.
Okay.
And you know, we were you know, we were the big brother, little sister.
Yeah, I got you.
And you know, we you know, we're tight now. You know, but it was just coming up in that time period. DC was it was a lot of stuff going on. You know, but it was tight knit. You know, it was family oriented. And
was that around the '90s where you were really hanging out?
Yeah, I started really hanging, because I was born in 1982. So in the '90s, I really came up in the '90s.
Okay.
So that's when I would go to the old Twins.
Yeah.
You know, right before I went to Duke Ellington in 96, we moved from Petworth to 14th Street.
Okay.
3 blocks away from the old Twins.
Wow. So you would go to the Sunday
I would go there.
jam sessions? And
I would go there. My dad would take me there.
Yeah.
You know, my dad would take me to hear Mulgrew Miller.
Yeah, I remember.
You know,
Mulgrew.
Hand Me a Blewett. Like, everybody and anybody that would roll through, you know. And he would Mickey Roker, like my dad would always take me around these folks, and he would always tell me, tell them what you do and what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I kind of just got used to that, man. But it was just a great environment, man. You know, it was a great environment, which is why I always wanted to raise a family in DC. Yeah. You know, it was great.
So what kind of music? Because DC is known for go-go.
Yes.
Were you acclimated to go-go and the whole?
Very much.
Really?
Very much. Wow. I used to go to go-go every week, every Friday,
Really?
Friday night before I started working, before I started doing gigs. So like high school, college, I would come back on the weekends. We would go to the Black Hole.
I hear some stories about them go-go's back in the day.
Oh, it was crazy. I used to see all sorts of stuff, man. But it was you muster up this energy.
Uh-huh.
You muster up this energy. Some crazy stuff is gonna go down. You would go in there, but the band would just be like cranking. Everybody would be dancing. You just and you just in this thing, this culture and this sound. Yeah. That just attracted me, the strong bass, the strong drums, that
Did
pocket.
you have homies and all that?
Oh, yeah. We would go.
Y'all ain't never had no issues with nobody?
No, not. I mean, and if I was with somebody that had issues, you know what I'm saying? We were kind of level-headed. Our crew was kind of balanced.
Gotcha.
It would be like me and Eric would be there.
Gotcha.
And then it would be like some other cats from different neighborhoods and stuff like that. But we used to have a good time, and that transferred over into like the music that that I started playing now. You know what I mean?
I was listening to a track. I think that last track was that a go-go thing you was playing on the djembe?
Yeah.
And you were talking to the people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said there it is.
It's a mixture of stuff. And then I have another tune on there also called Rainy Days. It's a go-go tune. And go-go was a big part of me, man. Like I still listen to it every day.
Really?
When I'm in New York, I blast go-go music driving through Brooklyn.
Really?
It makes me feel. It makes me feel at home. It
Gotcha.
makes me feel connected. It makes me feel it's a part of me.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that going back to my parents, they said always remember who you are, regardless of where you are in the world.
Wow. Beautiful.
I play go-go music in France.
Wow.
In my hotel room, blasting it off a balcony. Before a show to get hyped to play. Play with Kenny or whoever, because it's all, the spirit is all, all there.
So did you come, were your parents musicians? Did you come from music? We're going to talk about your great-grandfather?
Yeah, my great-grandfather.
But were any of your parents musicians?
My parents aren't professional musicians, but my father played woodwinds. My father played percussion as well. He played, he had a soprano sax. I remember he would pull that out every once in a while in the house and play it. And he was a music lover, but he never played professionally. My mom, she played piano, and sings. She's doing that more now. Okay. She's singing in church, in church, and so they weren't professional musicians, but music was everywhere. Mm-hmm. Music was everywhere.
Now, I read that you had a great grandfather who was a bassist. Mm-hmm. And he lived next door to John Coltrane. Yeah. And gave him lessons.
Yeah, he gave him lessons when he was.
Man, how deep is that?
I know it's crazy, and we share a birthday. Me and my great grandfather.
Wow.
September
Did you
18th.
ever meet him?
I never met him. No, I never met him.
So he lived next
And my grandmother went to high school with John Coltrane.
Really? Why they would?
While he was still in North Carolina before he left to go to Philadelphia.
Wow. While he was getting it together.
Yep.
Man, that's crazy.
And so like and he didn't even teach him saxophone. He was just a music teacher and he was a bass player. So he kind of just, he just taught him music.
Wow.
And yeah, man, my grandfather knew Trane. My grandfather played trombone.
Your grandfather knew Trane?
Yeah. So when Trane would come and play Bohemian Caverns,
I
should have bought it, man. I should have bought you a program from 1959 or something like that. My father gave me this program from Bohemian Caverns. You go see Trane for $1.50.
Wow.
The cover charge was $1.50. If you want to have a real good time, pay $6, and you got like a whole drink. And I had a menu. I'll show it to you.
Wow, man.
But so my grandfather and Trane, they stayed in touch. So anytime Trane would come and play in DC, my grandfather would come and hang. My grandmother used to talk to him on the phone.
Really?
From time to time. He called her from Philadelphia.
Wow.
Sometimes, yeah.
Do you sit back and ask them a bunch of questions?
I wish I could now. They're gone now.
Okay.
They're deceased. But I talked to my father about it.
Okay.
But he passed away in 2018.
Yeah, sorry to hear
Oh,
that.
thanks, bro. But but I try to get as much information as I could from him.
Through your dad,
from my dad about it. But
wow.
Yeah, man, and that was that's why my dad wanted me to play bass.
Gotcha.
Because me and my great grandfather shared birthday.
Gotcha. Beautiful.
So
do you believe that music is in your ancestral DNA?
Most definitely. Yeah. It has to be, man. Yeah. I believe it's in all our DNA.
Okay. Yeah.
Because before we could do anything, our voice is the first instrument.
Mm-hmm.
We would, and I mean historically, in our culture, we had to communicate through
I just
drums.
thought of something. You said our voice is our first instrument. Mm-hmm. What about our heartbeat?
Well, that supplies the voice. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Our heartbeat is too.
I just thought of that.
It's all connected. Because without that, we can't do that.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
now, did music come easy for you?
Drumming came easy for me.
Really? So you say the djembe was your first instrument?
Yeah, it was. Well, actually, when I really think about it, I always say djembe was my first instrument, but dundun and samba. Mm-hmm. This dundun is like
these are African.
These are African, West African drums from Guinea.
Wow.
So I remember there was a dance class, African dance class, and my dad took me to the dance class, mm-hmm. and he put my sister in the class, and I was going to be in the dance class as well, but I walked away from the dance class and walked over to the drums, and I was just sitting there looking.
Wow.
And Baba Aidu Holmes handed me some sticks. He was like, "Hey, play this." He was like this. He said, "Do do 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 ding ding do 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 do." That was the first rhythm I ever learned, right?
Uh-huh.
And he gave me the sticks, and I played do 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 ding ding do do. He's like, "All right, you're in the drum class. You're in," and so that was it. So that came naturally to me. Wow. Now bass. When I was 10, I thought I was just going to get this big instrument, and it was cool, and I was going to bring it home. First of all, I couldn't even carry it.
Yeah.
So my dad had to carry the bass for me to the crib. I remember taking it upstairs, taking it out the case, like, "Oh, I'm about to have some fun with this." And I picked it up, and I was like, "Yo, what is this? I can't do nothing with this." So that really didn't, the bass really didn't come naturally to me.
Gotcha.
I was playing classical in DC Youth Orchestra program, and it was kind of I didn't really enjoy it as much because I was drumming, and I was heavy into
So was it fun playing the djembe?
It was. I loved playing the djembe, man. I loved playing the djembe because I just felt I was just attracted to the rhythm. I was attracted to the community. I had examples of guys older than me and ladies older than me in this company. Mm-hmm. They'd be performing, so we'd be sitting there watching. Then we could be a part of it too. So then they would have the kids, and it's still alive here in DC today.
Oh wow!
Farafina Khan is an extension of
so, that. When you were learning the djembe,
yeah,
and the other African instruments,
yeah,
Was it like a form? I mean, were they saying, okay, 1 and 2 and were you reading music, or was it just? It's a different kind of.
It's a different thing. You learn the rhythm. You have these different African rhythms, such as, for example, you have a rhythm called cuckoo, which has a djembe part. It has a accompanying part. It's two different parts, 2 or 3 different parts. Then you have a samba part, you have a doom doom part, you have a kinkini part. So all of these drums come together and form this rhythm that is cuckoo.
Oh wow!
And that's so.
And you have to stay on your.
And you have to stay on your thing, and then you have an opportunity as a djembe player to solo.
Okay.
So it's just like what we do in a jazz setting.
Yeah.
Or
how did you develop your technique with it? You just do it by doing it?
Practicing, man. I had teachers who would.
But you would practice rhythms.
Oh, I would practice rhythms. I would practice slaps, tones, bass.
Okay.
There's just like on saxophone, just like on bass.
Wow.
You have to. It's a whole thing, a whole craft that you have to perfect. And I mean, of course, I went a certain way, but then I got heavy in the bass. And that took a little while for me. It took 4 years. It wasn't until I really got to Duke Ellington.
Yeah. So how do you think the learning drums and djembe impacted your musicianship and as a bass player now?
Oh, it totally. I'm totally, as a bass player, I'm coming out of that. So rhythmically, it got my rhythm together, got my sense of ensemble together, my sense of having a foundation. Because if I'm playing a part, I play that part to make everything else around me better. Then when I have my opportunity to do what I do, I could take my solo. It just, it allowed me to be able to hear the music over top and hear the melodies and hear the rhythm and hear the melody within the rhythm.
Wow.
Because that's what you hear when you hear
I'm listening to I think y'all at the Kennedy Center. On the Millennium stage.
Right.
I think Quincy
was playing, yeah.
And Quincy and McClinty, they have a way, man, like especially up tempo, man. You
yeah.
It's like y'all were playing like something up. So when you're playing up tempo on the bass, right? What are you locking into? Are you listening? Are you like keeping your own time, or are you?
That's changed over time. I used to think. Now I've had many lessons on the bandstand. I used to think when I'm playing up tempo, like 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. And when you do that, you can't really hold the tempo as a bass player. Now I remember being on the road with Javon Jackson, Benny Green, and Al Foster, and we were playing up tempo, and Benny was like, "You're playing way too heavy when you're up tempo, and it's dragging, it's pulling the time back, right?" So he started thinking you have to think of like in breaths. So when it's real fast, like 1 2, you're like 1 1 1 1 1.
Okay.
And so you play lighter. And then with Kenny Garrett, he thinks about, we burn out, right?
Yeah.
We burn out, and sometimes I have a tendency to jump ahead of the beat. Coming from DC, we would play behind the beat.
Okay. Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was something I had to figure out when I got to New York, was how to figure out how the drummer's working, where to place the beat. Do I want to be a little ahead? Do I want to be a little behind? Do I need to be right in the middle? And so I have to, as a bass player, for me, what I'm doing, I'm feeling the beat of the drummer, and how we internalize that ride.
So are you listening? Because sometimes they be doing stuff on the snare that might throw my.
Oh yeah.
It might throw me off.
Yeah, I'm listening, but I had to develop internal time, because if I'm playing with somebody, not to just drop names, but there's a lot of drummers who have crazy technique and facility and can play anything on the drum, such as somebody like Ronald Bruner. And Ronald, he plays a lot of drums. So if we're playing up tempo or something like that, and I just listen to Ronald, I could, there's a way that I can possibly get off. And he's trying a lot of things. And sometimes he'll get off, sometimes I'll get off. But we have to have that understanding of where one is, and how to support it, and how to listen to the phrasing that's going on from whoever's playing. So I mean, it's a lot of things in there. Wow. But going back to drumming, drumming in an ensemble from a very young age helped me figure out how to connect those dots, and it really has helped me as far as my time.
I lived with Aaron Walker
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, that's another
few years.
Yo,
and he used to walk around the house. So he used to play the djembe.
Yeah.
And he plays the drum set very African.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh yeah.
You know.
For sure.
Did you and Aaron ever hook up back in the day?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I'm gonna tell you, man. One of my gigs, my first New Year's gig was with Aaron Walker, and this was New Year's of the year 2000.
Wow.
And we were playing at the Old Twins. It was Aaron Walker's group, and I just remember him calling me because Aaron and my father were very close.
Yeah.
My father would make these trips to the motherland a lot, and him and Aaron, they would have these deep conversations, very connected. So I my first gig with on the New Year was with Aaron with Aaron Walker. And I remember when it turned midnight, we didn't know what was going to happen because of the millennium. I was like, man, is the lights going to cut off or something like
Y2K.
that? Y2K. But Aaron was always cool, and Aaron always, the thing about Aaron was he knew that where I was coming from.
Yeah.
Coming from drumming and stuff like that. So he found that very interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And I found that very interesting. And I wish we could play more together now because it's been years since we played. But Aaron,
man,
Brad brother, man. Brad
yeah, he's just living with a cat. You kind of learn a lot about him. But he's really deeply
rooted,
affected, in African rhythms.
Very much.
Yeah,
very much.
Now, tell us about your service to the elderly. You say you go and you provide music therapy and so what is that?
I did that for 10 years before the pandemic. It halted once the pandemic hit because you could no longer go in.
Wow.
But basically what I would do is, let me see, 2008, I guess. A buddy of mine, Casa Overall, drummer, really good drummer in New York, from Seattle. He was doing it. He was playing percussion at a nursing home up in Harlem, Greater Harlem Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. So basically there's a brother named Marshall who he leads the class exercise for the elderly, and then we provide the sound for them. So I started doing it in 2008. Casa couldn't do it anymore, and I took that as an opportunity to start playing djembe again every day.
Okay.
So I would go every day in the morning.
Wow.
From 10 to 12, and I would start my day off drumming for the elderly.
Wow.
And it was a good thing for me because in New York, I missed the sense of elderly energy. Even though I would play with elders, at night, on gigs and stuff like that, but being able to see them in another state. So I would deal with people with dealing with all sorts of stuff. Dementia. But what I would notice is they wouldn't be there. Then the exercise, Marshall would start with the exercises, and I'd be in there and I'd be smacking. I wouldn't play quiet in the nursing home because they didn't want me to play quiet. And then they would wake up and it would spark something.
Wow.
The rhythm and the music would spark something in their minds and in their spirit that would make them alert.
Wow.
And they would remember all sorts of songs. They start singing songs from their childhood. And
man, that must be a great experience.
Man, it was just a great experience. And that became my daily thing. So I would always make a post every morning headed up to Harlem to play for my elders.
Beautiful.
And that was basically became a huge part of it. Made me feel like I was a part of something bigger than what I was doing. It didn't matter if I was on tour. I'd be on tour. I'd come back on tour the next morning. I shoot up to Harlem and play for a couple hours, and it allowed me to it allowed my spirit to wake up with theirs early in the morning. So then, by the time I had to go do a gig at night or a session or whatever,
that's heavy.
I was already there. I was already
So was it therapeutic for you as well?
It was, man.
Wow.
It was, and when it stopped, that was hard for me.
Wow.
That was hard for me. I never really was able to tell them that, and a lot of them passed away. During the pandemic, there's only one person left from the original people that I used to work with over the last 10 years. I mean, I dealt with people from the ages of late 60s to 106 years old.
Wow.
So it was just, I missed my grandmother a lot. So it was a lot of that energy there, bro.
Well, I always believe that life is about service. Somebody took care of us and provided for us, help us to get, and then we pass it on. And that's type of thing, man.
Yeah.
But that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, it was a great thing for me.
Great work, man. So you mentioned that you started playing bass at the age of 10,
right?
In the DC Youth Orchestra.
Yes, DC.
Now, what is the DC Youth Orchestra? So, I've heard about it. Okay,
so DC Youth Orchestra, when I was coming up, it's a Saturday program from 9 a.m. to 1, and you have these different levels of you have orchestral instruments. You have these different orchestra levels. You know, you're starting from very little kids, and it goes all the way up to people in high school. Basically, you can go through the whole program from being a child all the way to when you're in high school. So I started at 10. I stopped after I graduated from Duke Ellington. So basically, you just have these different levels. You know, you have a beginner stage, intermediate, then and you're learning. You know, you have private lessons, then you go to orchestra. So that's basically what it is on Saturdays. You know, you have
and you were playing classical bass.
Playing classical bass, and then at the end of every few weeks, a month or so, you have a concert where you're presenting.
Okay.
You're presenting the music that you're working on in the orchestra. The orchestra will perform. Your parents come or whatever, and you also have juries as well. Wow. To get to the next level. Oh, so it's a level thing. You just
is that still ongoing?
It's still ongoing. It's no longer. It used to be at Coolidge, but now it's. I believe. Don't quote me on it, but I believe it's over at Eastern. Okay. Now, I believe. Man, it was started by.
I came up with some similar kind of thing. We had like. Settlement Music School, All City, concert band, and jazz band, that sort of thing.
That's a great thing, and you get to travel. You get to travel like
and being around other musicians that on different levels.
Yeah,
it keeps you.
And that's the thing. Like, when I was 10, I met Eric.
So Eric was in it?
Yeah, Eric was in there from 10, but I met Eric a little earlier than that. But Amin was 13, and I remember I used to ask Amin to tune my bass. And really? I remember saying to Amin, I was like, Amin, can you tune my bass? And he'd be like, yeah, I got you, young. And Amin was the exact same way when he was 13, and he, ahead of his time, and he would tune it, but he would be like, and he would take his time, and I'd be like, Amin, how come it's taking you so long to tune my bass? When Mr. Jackson and Miss Nash tunes my bass, he'd be like, man, because they got better ears than I do. And so I would always I would learn. Learn from him, and it was just a thing. Then we all ended up going to high school together.
Wow. And we're going to talk about that. Yeah. So at what point, you mentioned that you wasn't feeling the bass.
Right.
First. At what point did you start feeling it?
I started feeling it freshman year at Duke Ellington.
Okay.
My pops and one of his best friends, photographer Harley Little, took me to the Lincoln Theater on U Street. So Mr. Yarborough, David Yarborough, was playing in a big band. I forgot the big band, but Reggie Workman was the special guest.
Yeah, the great,
right? Reggie Workman, right? And I told him this story. And at that point, I was playing classical, and I just started playing jazz at Duke Ellington, but I wasn't connected to the bass yet. And Reggie Workman was playing, and then Reggie Workman took a solo, man. He took a solo. And it was rhythmic, it was creative, it caught my attention, it caught everybody's attention in the whole theater. It just got quiet, and he was just all over the bass, and he was just doing this rhythmic sort of strumming thing, and then from that point on, I was like, oh, I was like, hold up. So you could actually do that on the bass. I don't have to just, play classical or try to learn how to walk a bass, but that's something. He's improvising. Yeah. He's improvising, and it's making me think of a drum.
Wow.
It's almost like he's a drummer. Yeah. And so that from that point on, I was like, oh, okay, I'm into it. Then after that, Keita Betts. Yeah. I used to start seeing Keita play.
Wow.
And that really did it for me. That did it for me.
I was listening to you, man, and I said, man, and I don't know if this is just coincidence, man, but you're playing in a way remind me of Christian McBride. Just because of the classical, because Christian studied classical bass as well. Yeah. Just the technique and just something about you can hear that classical touch.
Oh yeah.
In it, But who were some of your biggest influences on bass?
Well, definitely Christian McBride was definitely still is to this day. Yeah. But My influences, man. My first major influence after hearing Reggie Workman solo, you know, I was in him, but I was really locally. I was in the Keita Betts, hardcore.
Okay. 9th,
10th grade at Duke Ellington. I started a group called Bass Buddies and Blues because Keita Betts had a CD called Bass Buddies and Blues. Wow. And Keita Betts,
what was it about Keita Betts that
man, the touch, man, the touch, the maturity, the smoothness, and then he would do this thing with his left hand where he would pull off the string, like ding ding ding, and actually I took that and made it my own thing, and then over time, over 20 years or whatever, I started to figure out how to take those little things. But it was just also just his sound, his touch, his presence. Mm-hmm. You know, being able to play in a band. He could be in a quartet, duo. He could be playing with a vocalist. You know, he was with Ella for so long. Yeah. And then just being able to see him in person. Mm-hmm. Being able to see him and like be able to just look at him and say something to him, you know, at that was so he was a major influence. Steve Novosel, Butch Warren.
Oh yeah.
You know, but now when we're talking about like, you know, moving forward, you know, of course Paul Chambers.
Yeah.
Ron Carter, Ray Brown, Jimmy Garrison. You know, I got real heavy into Jimmy Garrison because I realized I was really heavy into Trane. And I realized Trane reached where he was trying to get to due to the fact people don't give Jimmy Garrison enough credit.
Yeah, no doubt.
He's
laid
that thing down. And so I hear bass like that.
Okay.
I hear bass like that. Of course, Buster.
Wow.
Buster Williams.
So you can listen to different...
McBride.
Yeah.
Stanley Clark. You know, lately, you know, I'm hearing, being older now, I'm going back and listening to stuff that I used to listen to. My dad used to throw me stuff. Wow. Back in the day, they would kind of go over my head. Mm-hmm. You know, stuff like with Jocko. You know, man, of course, and Christian. I mean, you know, Christian McBride is kind of like, you know, if you're coming up. If you're coming up, like, if we're talking like basketball, you know how younger guys, they looked up to Jordan, they looked up to Kobe, look up to LeBron. Like, Christian is kind of like,
he's that.
You know, he's like that. You know, it's like, because he's, you know, Christian does everything. He's 10 years older than me, and you know those records from the '90s. That time that I was developing a lot. You know, and of course,
and not only that, he
as well.
Christian, man,
Dwayne Burno.
Oh yeah, I knew Dwayne from high school. Yeah. And Christian, man, not only some people are born with it, with that thing, like Roy Hargrove. I mean, it's not only just playing, but he has the personality, you know, the presence, and so yeah. Mm-hmm. So I understand. Yeah, that's
technically with the bow. Yeah, like we were talking about that. He sings. It's like, and I love Ray Brown. Yeah. So Christian loves Ray Brown. Yeah. But he was able to take that, and I learned a lot about the lineage, about being able to really go back in order to know what's in front of you. Like some trumpet players want to start with Woody Shaw. You can't start with Woody Shaw. You got to go back. Bass players want to start with Christian. You got to go back, and then you can see how he got it. And Christian's so versatile too. James Brown.
I mean, the same thing with Trane. Like I couldn't hear Trane. I remember someone when I was in high school. He brought me My Favorite Things album, and I'm a bird cat.
Right.
I couldned hear it.
Right.
I couldn't hear it. I couldn't hear it. And so one time I got to college, and I started going over to the Founders Library because we used to be able to check out some music. I would listen to, I would go down there, so Blue Train. And I said, whoa. and then it started, so I had to get to that.
Exactly.
And I could see the bebop in Trane. Mm-hmm. I could see all that. Mm-hmm. And so when I got to the spiritual, and when it made sense. Mm-hmm. You know, so.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to start. I remember my father put on a Love Supreme in the car. I said, this is weird. What is this? This is when I was at Duke Ellington. Yeah. And at that time, I was hearing a lot of Duke Ellington. Yeah. We were listening to Big Band. We was wearing suits to school trying to be like Lincoln Center. Yeah. You know, went and then would come up to the school. And, you know, and my dad put on, he said, listen to this. It was a Love Supreme. Yeah. I was like, this is kind of scary. What is this? You know, and then, you know, like you said, then you start listening a few years later. Mm-hmm. The more you learn, that's the beautiful thing about the music. The more information you get, things start to sound different. Yeah. Like if you were to listen to Love Supreme right now, it would sound different than it sounded to you 5 years ago.
Well, they say some people say jazz musicians are elitists because, but I think we can be the most open people.
Oh yeah.
We listen to stuff like back in the 50s, 20s, whatever.
Yeah.
And I, as an educator, man, I always work with young people.
Yeah.
And man, they just into what they into. Which is cool because I'm into it too. I can listen to that too.
Yeah.
And you try to hip them to some stuff that from back in the day, they can't. They don't even want to. Like my sons, man, they ain't trying to.
They ain't trying to hear that. Yeah.
But it's great to expose them because at some point
they'll get it.
Yeah, they'll start
it's
making
just
sense.
Sometimes the lessons, they don't make sense until years later, man.
Yeah. Do you remember when you first heard jazz?
Let me see. The first time I heard jazz,
I know you had a dad that was.
Woo.
Yeah. Or did you hear
one of my first? I think one of my first things that I could really remember was Don Cherry.
Wow.
Art Deco. Because my dad had all of these albums that he would play, and this was before I even played. I remember hearing Art Deco. I remember hearing Dizzy Gillespie Manteca. And yeah, I mean those are some of my first memories, and that probably it was like, 5, 6 years old.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really my thing.
Yeah. You wasn't feeling it?
I mean, I liked it.
Uh-huh.
But like I said, I was in the drumming. I was heavy in the drumming at that time. I was
didn't
heavy in the R&B.
You didn't think you'd become a jazz musician? Huh?
Not at that time.
Yeah.
Not at that time. But by high school,
yeah, it started.
I knew I wanted to be. I knew I was going to do that.
Yeah.
But at that time, I just thought I wanted to be the best drummer.
Wow.
In the world. I knew I was going to be a musician. I knew I was going to be a musician from 4 years old because nothing else really, held my interest as much.
Do you have perfect pitch? I always got to ask people.
No, I don't have perfect pitch, but I've been able to develop, what do you call it, relative pitch?
Uh-huh.
I mean, my pitch is a lot better now. It's a developed thing. Yeah. I don't have perfect
so
pitch.
When you walk your bass lines, right?
Yeah.
What are you thinking about? Like, I always wanted to know, because you got to keep.
Yeah. I'm thinking about,
or are you thinking?
I am thinking. I'm thinking time. I'm thinking feel. I'm thinking holding everything together. I'm thinking about where, what's going on. Why am I walking this bass line? What's the purpose at this particular moment? Am I walking to company like you if you're soloing or something like that? How you're phrasing. I'm listening to how you're phrasing, so that way I'm thinking of if I want an ascending line. Descending line. I'm thinking,
and all of this is in a split second.
Yeah.
And are you thinking about the chord changes?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's the first thing I'm thinking. I'm thinking about the chord changes. I'm reading the changes. I'm thinking of the qualities of the chord. I'm thinking of the best way to connect them in an interesting way. Of course, you have elementary ways of putting together your bass lines, and then the older you get and the more experience you have.
Yeah. What makes a good bass line?
Clarity. Clarity, feel. I remember taking a lesson with Ron Carter, and he was saying, it has to be, the notes have to be balanced as well. It has to be able to swing. You have to be able to connecting in. This what of course we're approaching it from half steps or whatever.
Yeah.
But understanding the quality of the chord, you can't just be playing anything. If you it's almost like when you're soloing. If you want to go out, you have to know how to come back in. It's the same way with a bass line. You have to know the structure of the chord and the harmony and how it's moving.
Sometimes
how they're connected.
Yeah. Sometimes it's
not easy.
Yeah, because sometimes like if I walked in and they were playing like a song like the Lord, and the bass, it just seemed like doom doom doom.
Yeah.
or the sorcerer.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear that? Like if you walked in a room and the bass, he's doing the sorcerer, and
I can hear it because I'm a bass player, but I'm not just listening to the bass.
Okay.
I'm listening to melody, what you just saying.
Okay.
I'm like, like I'll have to hear a hint of that. Like, okay, that's Joshua. That's that's.
Okay, yeah.
So now like somebody. I mean, there's different levels to it. You know, for modern bassists, you know, like even like somebody like Ron Carter, who's been here for so long, who has just evolved coming from I mean, he's played with everybody. He treats everything, he has his way of doing things.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that takes time, and that takes understanding, but that takes studying harmony. I mean, he knows harmony, as a bass player. Like every day I'm still studying harmony. I'm trying to get with the piano player to figure out, okay, how can I approach this change differently so I can hear it when you're doing it. Yeah. How can I do that, or how can I do that, and then make you come with
when
me?
You're home,
yeah,
and you shedding, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you practicing a song.
Yeah.
Are you working out different ways to navigate those chord changes?
Yeah, I am.
Is that the process?
That's the process for me. That's the process for me.
And now, is there
one of the processes?
Are there any cookie cutter approaches to this? Playing, or are you playing a scale? Are you outlining the chord?
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand the scale. I'm trying to understand the extensions of the chord.
Wow.
How if I'm starting on a sharp 5, on how I could. I could come back. You can.
You can start on the sharp 5.
Yeah, but you just have to know how to resolve it.
Okay, all right.
And that's one thing that I've learned playing with Kenny Garrett for over 10 years, and I'm still learning. It's been
10 years?
It's been 10 years. And the thing about it is, it's like I'm still learning it. Sometimes you start doing things, you don't even know exactly what it is that you're doing. But then you'll listen back, and you're like, yo, I'm starting to hear this. I'm starting to hear how to take this note is going to create this tension in my line.
Wow.
But then I could bring it back, and then it's just like, okay. And it's the same thing,
I need to sit down, man, like with a bass player and him explain certain things to me like that. Because as a horn player,
that's the only way to do it. And then I sit down with you.
Yeah.
Sit down with a horn player and see how you're thinking about it. And then that helps me have a better understanding of how to complement what you're doing.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that's what they used to do. That was jazz. That was jazz education.
Wow.
Was playing on the bandstand, falling down and then getting back up and getting together with
Yeah. Now playing bass though.
Yeah.
You also have to learn a whole bunch of tunes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do.
Do those songs stick with you?
Sometimes.
Okay.
A lot of them do, but the thing that I've come to realize is sometimes you'll forget a change, but the more you play and the more experience you have, you're able to start to hear your way through the tunes. You can find the similarities.
Wow.
In the tunes, and then the way of thinking. The way of thinking. Okay. I mean, just like you'll have to think that way too. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, this starts starting on the 2, on the 4 chord.
Yeah. Wow.
2/5 of the 4 on the bridge. Regardless of what key we're in.
No doubt.
Okay, I might miss this up, miss that, but I can hear it coming from the piano player. If we're in a chordless environment where it's just me, then I'm listening to the horn player, or I'm figuring out ways to do it. It's just it's an ongoing process.
A lot of stuff going on, man.
There's so much going on, bro. It's crazy.
Wow. Let's go back to Duke Ellington. Yeah. So you went to high school. Mm-hmm. Now, first of all, where'd you go to school? Like, you went to elementary, you said...
Bunker Hill Elementary.
Bunker Hill, I know what that is.
Yep.
And then you went to middle school?
Newport Prep. Okay. I didn't mean to make my face like that. Right. But that was an interesting...
Gotcha.
That was an interesting time, and that was out here. That was in Kensington, Maryland.
Okay. And then you went to Duke Ellington.
Then I went to Duke Ellington.
What made you choose Duke Ellington?
Well, at that time I was in Newport. I was heavy into music. Mm-hmm. My father and my grandfather, my mom's father, they were having a conversation, and my dad was like, "Look, I think Newport is really getting Corcoran together academically. He's gonna need to know what to do academically." And my grandfather agreed with him. He's like, "Yeah, it's good." Bunker Hill was great. Bunker Hill was a great school back then. Newport was a prep school. It took me out of an environment that I was used to, and I would come out here.
Yeah.
For 2 years, and then, but my grandfather was like, "But what does he love to do? You know, he's a musician.
Mm-hmm.
He's a musician. He got an opportunity to go to Duke Ellington.
Yeah.
Take him to put him in Duke Ellington. And at that time, Davy Yarborough was living across the street from my godparents.
Wow.
over near Coolidge and that area. And they lived out. They were best friends. So my god sister is Davy Yarborough's wife, Esther. Mm-hmm. That's her godmother. Okay. So my mom is her godmother, and that's how close it is. Okay. Wow. So my dad and Mr. Yarborough were talking. Uh-huh. I was like 12 at the time, and he was like, "Yeah, bring Corcoran over to Duke Ellington." Mm-hmm. And at first, my dad told me about it. I was like, "Dad, they got a djembe department at Duke Ellington?" He's like, "Nah, they got a bass department though." And I was like, "Okay," but I still went and auditioned on djembe, and I auditioned on bass. Mr. Yarborough was like, "Yeah, that's cool. That's cute. He can audition on djembe and whatever. That's cool. But we're gonna have him as a bass player." And so then I went to Duke Ellington. Wow. And it was tight. Like me and Mr. Yarborough, you know, that's been my mentor since. I just talked to him a couple days ago.
He's been, I would say, blessed, but lucky, because you know I taught kids in the hood, man. They be trying to get yeah. And man, trying to pull some music out of them, man. But he's had just some of the most wonderful musicians come out of his program. Oh yeah. And man, it had to, man. You know, if that could be like a teaching experience for me, man. I've always looked up to him. In that regard too, man. Yeah. I don't know how he did it, but he did it, and he's done it, and he's still doing it. Yeah, even though he's retired, he's still doing it. He's responsible for so many. Yeah. For so many of us from the generation before me, because he was doing it for 40 years when he retired. Yeah, man. I mean, it's amazing, man, and he earned it, man. You know. Yeah, for sure. And I know he's proud of all of y'all, man. It's beautiful. Yeah, he really is, man. So Duke Ellington is an art school, and I went to art school. I got to brag. I went to in Philly, right? In Philly. I went to Creative and Performing Arts. Philly. I went to high school. I got to brag. I was with school. Christian McBride, Joey DeFrancesco, Boys to Men, Questlove, and some other people. Yeah, right. And man, so I know what that experience is like, being around so many like incredibly talented like young people that are into their thing just as much as you into it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. So when you got to Duke Ellington, who was at Duke Ellington during the years that you were there? When I was there, we had you ain't got to name them all, but I mean, well, as far as for what I was doing, you know, we had Amin was there. Amin Salim was there. He was a senior when I was a freshman. Okay. In the jazz ensemble. Me and Eric Wheeler came in at the same time together. We had actors and singers there, but some of the other folks came in a couple years. Was Janelle there? Janelle was a senior there. Okay. Janelle was a senior, that's right. Yeah, Janelle. Who else was seniors? There's a cat named Leroy Barley. He was a trumpet player. Don Monte had graduated years before. Don Monte went there too? Don Monte went there. Wow. What about Herb Scott? Herb came in the year after I graduated. Okay. I graduated in 2000. Herb came in September 2000, if I'm not mistaken. Because I remember Herb when he was 8th grade, man. Wow. And he was coming up there to audition. Yeah. And I remember Herb, man, it was so crazy. I remember Herb asked 100 questions in 3 minutes. It was just like, he was like, and it was just like ongoing. I'm not clowning you, Herb. I'm just, this is, because now him being who he is now, it's just, it makes sense. Yeah. You know, he was really focused and he really passionate and really wanted it. So I remember, Herb came in after me, but we had, who else was there? It's a lot of folks. Our people that just pop up. Did Ben Williams go to Duke Ellington? Ben came in. Yeah, he came in. He's 2 years younger than me. So when I was a junior, wow. In
that's when Ben came in. Ben was a friend, and I remember like I was feeling, so my journey at Duke Ellington was interesting because when I first got there, Amin was there, he was playing. I had been looking up to Amin since I was 10 because we were in youth orchestra together. Eric was there, but Eric was ahead of me in youth orchestra. Therefore, Eric was already ahead of me playing-wise at Duke Ellington. So I felt like I was trying to catch up to these guys. You know, it wasn't a competition thing, but I was just learning. I was practicing, and I was trying to find myself. I was trying to connect playing percussion to bass playing. And once I was able to kind of do that, it helped me a lot. You know, being able to express myself on an instrument, become connected. So I started feeling good. I remember one year I got like most improved bass player or something like that. And it was more bass players there than just us three. And then junior year, I look back and there's this little kid coming in, little baby faced kid coming in. He sounded like a grown man playing bass. I was like, I was like, damn, who is that? Yeah. And it was Ben. So then Ben was playing like Christian McBride solos, note for note. When he was like 13 years old, playing all over. And I was just like, oh, damn, okay. I said, all right, you know, but it was never competition. It was just like we all just enjoyed being around each other. We would play trio because during that time, McBride and Milt Hinton and Ray Brown and John Clayton, they were putting out those super bass bands, right? And so we would play trio in the hallway. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And we just be playing, so we just be learning from each other. And it was like iron sharpens iron. It was, man. I mean, and earlier on, even freshman year, before, you know, we had Keita Betts coming to the school. Wow. We had Yarborough always had folks come. He had Lincoln Center coming through. I remember Jimmy Heath came through. Wow. I remember Wycliffe came through. Nicholas Payton. Wow. And it was just weird that fast forwarding, I would end up playing with all of these people. Yeah. When I met them when I was just a little kid. But Duke Ellington was just that creative environment where like you hear singing, you see dancing, you see theater. You know, you're there, you're working on shows and coming together and just being creative. It was just the most creative environment. Wow. That just set the tone for me. So you mentioned some of your teachers. Who were the teachers that really, when you had Duke Ellington, that really impacted you and helped you get it together? Yeah, I would definitely have to say my bass teacher, Carolyn Kellogg. Okay. Who was not, that's the other thing, we didn't have a jazz bass teacher at Duke Ellington. Wow. She was a classical teacher. Okay. But she got me together because I always felt like I needed to be prepared for my lesson. I couldn't play much bass like that when I first got there, but she saw potential. And she always held me accountable for like, you know, like, come on, Amin is doing this, Eric's doing this. Wow, yeah. Come on, like, you know, you're playing on this bass. You could be playing on this bass if, you know, because there were different basses. Wow. So it's like if you could do this, then you could move on. You know, you possibly could get this bass. So there was a lot of things, a lot of things there, and she would take note of everything. She was a lovely woman. She's still around. You know, she retired from Duke Ellington recently, but she was like one of the best bass teachers I ever had. Wow. And that was at Duke, and then of course, Davey Yarborough took that, and then he threw it. He had us playing jazz and walking bass lines and showing us how to construct them. From her teaching us the technical stuff on the instrument, and then him nurturing the jazz stuff and bringing different people in. Well, one thing I noticed about all of y'all, man, Amin, Ben, Eric, and yourself, man, y'all have incredible command of the instrument, and is that thanks to Carol? That's Miss Kellogg, man. Yeah, man. Thanks to Carolyn Kellogg, man. I've known it when I used to see when you guys were young, man. I said, wow, these cats are advanced for the, you know. Yeah, man. I mean, we because we didn't really have a choice. Yeah. We didn't have a choice. And that's what I try to tell my students. Like, yo, you want to come in here, you want to play, you want to walk bass lines, you want to play all over the bass. Can you play a C major scale? Like, I mean, can you play, do you know where the notes are? Wow. I have them always start playing with the bow. Wow. Etudes, because that, you have to understand the technique, how to get around an instrument before you could do anything else. So, wow, man. Yeah.
That's a good experience, man.
It was great.
Do you remember your first gig?
I do.
Really?
Yeah. My first gig outside of school. I was still at Duke Ellington. Yeah. Horror story. Horror story. One of my first gigs. Out with Alan Johnson. And it was a duo gig.
Oh boy.
A duo gig, and it wasn't a horror story because of Alan.
Okay.
It's because of me. I was like 14, 15. We playing at the One Step Down.
Okay.
And we're playing, man, and all of a sudden, I started realizing, like, my fingers started bothering me a little bit. And within 10 minutes, I looked down, man. I had blood blisters.
Wow.
On both of my index finger and my middle finger. And it got so bad, Antonio, that you could just see it just sitting on top.
Wow.
And I had to play. And so I played, and this is very graphic. Y'all could stop listening if you want to, but it exploded on the bass.
Wow.
And then we were playing Cherokee.
Oh.
Alan was playing or whatever, and I started playing with one finger.
Yeah.
And I realized, and this was kind of like somewhat in the beginning of the gig, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh, man.
Were you in pain?
I was in terrible pain, and it was my raw skin hitting the string, so I had to stop playing. And my dad was there. And the owner, what was the owner's name?
Oh, what's his name?
What was her name? I forgot her name, though.
Oh, you mean the lady that...
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget her name. Yeah, I forget
But
her name. Yeah.
She came up to me, and she said, she said, you could go home. She said, you can go home. This is for grown men. Like, you gotta go home.
Wow.
And this was at the beginning of the gig, man. And my dad was there, and I looked at my dad, and I said, Dad, I can't even play no more, man. I can't. My fingers are messed up. I said, it's hurting. I don't know. And she told me I gotta go home. He's like, he looked at me, and he said, you sure you can't just? And I was like, well, I mean, I would stay, but I was embarrassed. I was kind of embarrassed. I was a kid, man.
Yeah, wow.
And I talked to Alan. I said, Alan, I'm sorry. He said, man, that's all right, man. I can play. I play solo. So he played the rest of the gig. So I went home, man.
Yeah.
And that was my first gig. That was my first gig. And that was at the One Step Down. And I learned from that. Mm-hmm. From that point on, I developed blisters.
You didn't cry?
I didn't cry.
Okay.
I didn't cry, but I was embarrassed.
That would have been enough to make me go home and cry.
It made me feel like it. It made me feel like it, but I just took it. You know, I took it as a learning experience. Yeah. And I went to school the next day.
Now, since you're on the subject of blisters.
Yeah.
Now, one thing about playing the bass, you have to develop calluses, right?
Definitely.
Now, at the time, you didn't know about that.
That was me developing calluses. That was me doing that.
Ooh, so that's a process you got to go through?
It's a process you got to go through. You always going to go through. You still going to go through the process. I have permanent calluses on here, right?
Uh-huh.
Coming through the pandemic, we had 2020. I had maybe 5 months without playing with another musician.
Wow.
I just practicing in the crib when I could. My son's screaming around. Mm-hmm. You know, at that time, my son was 2.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I was playing as much as I possibly could. And I got on a gig. First gig was on my birthday with Bruce Williams and Fish and Brandon McKeon, the cats. And the blisters came back. I got a new blister over top of the callus that I already had just from not really hitting as much.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, they still come and go. But, of course, they disappear.
Is it something you get used to?
You get used to it.
Okay.
You get used to it. I mean, and the older you get and the more experience you have, you know what to do. It's like, all right, I'm about to play tonight. I'm not going to pop this thing right, right here. If I got to play it a couple days, I just let it drain, let it harden up. You know what I'm saying? But
now, were you gigging a lot before you went to college?
Before I went to college, I was playing. I was doing things here and there. I was digging. I was gigging all throughout high school through junior year, senior year. Little gigs around, but it was really a lot more playing at school and a lot of gigs like Yarborough was set up gigs.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
for us to know how it was to play.
Yeah,
and we would gain money, and then we would go on these big trips.
Gotcha.
Marciac Jazz Festival, but the gigs that we did, it would go towards that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was playing. I had a few hits when I was younger. Like I had opportunity to play with Mickey Roker.
Yeah.
And Twins and
we did some stuff. We used to play.
We used to play. Yeah. That's when I was in high school. Sonny Sumner. I remember one. Actually, I said Allen was my first gig. It was either Allen or Sonny.
Okay.
It was because that was
Sonny was singing back then.
Sonny was singing back then. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay.
And wow. Yeah, so I mean, I had an experience in playing.
Okay.
I had experience in playing.
So then you went to college. You went. What college did you go to?
I went to Shenandoah University, which is also a conservatory in Winchester, Virginia.
Who'd you study with out there?
At first, freshman year, it was with a couple of different guys, a couple of different bass players. They were associated with the Army Blues Band.
Okay.
There was a guy named Jim Roberts, who was a guitar player, who they had him teaching bass there. Great musician, but it wasn't really working out for me. And then there was another guy, Mr. Hans, great bass player. He was in a, I think he wasn't in the Airmen of Note. I think he was also in the Army Blues Band. So I was gonna leave. I liked him, but I was in culture shock. Coming from DC, going out to Winchester, Virginia. I was going home. I was going to the Go-Go's. I was going to hear people play. I was like, man.
Now, how far is that from?
An hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Between an hour and 15 hours.
Okay.
Not that far.
Yeah.
But when you're 17 and you're leaving there and you start living there, you're like, and I had my headphones on, hoodie on, whatever.
You said you had your hoodie on?
Hoodie on, headphones. I was just kind of like, then me and my boy, great trumpet player now, doing his thing in New Orleans, Ashland Parker. We became roommates, and it made the experience a lot better. So that's where I was.
What made you choose that school?
They gave me a really good scholarship.
Okay.
At first, and it wasn't too far from home. I wanted to go to New York. I got into all the schools. Got into the New School. Got into Manhattan. I got into Hart School of Music. A lot of schools I wanted to go to. But my family. Personally, my family was going through some stuff, and my dad was like, I think it'd be better for you to be somewhere where you could really develop. Yeah. You go to New York, you don't know what's going to happen. New York's going to be there. This place, it was kind of like going from Bunker Hill to Newport.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then from Newport to Duke Ellington. Yeah. Then Duke Ellington to Shenandoah. It's like this. It's that thing where it's like you're doing this, but this is going to prepare you. Yeah. No doubt. For this. And I didn't see it at first, but it did. Yeah.
Did Michael Bowie
teach that too? So this is how it happened. Okay. I was going to leave after my freshman year because I felt like it wasn't for me, and they asked me who I wanted to. They said, well, what can we do to?
Oh, so they wanted you to stay there.
They wanted me to stay.
Wow.
They wanted me to stay, and I said, well, I'd like to be able to study with somebody from my hometown that I can learn from, and I gave them some names. I gave him Michael Bowie. I gave him James King. Gave him Steve Novosel, and they were able to get Mike. Wow. And it worked out in my favor because Mike lived right around the corner from my mother. Wow. So I would come home, and I made it. And Mike was coming out to the school for a while, and then I was like, Mike, I kind of want to go back to DC on the weekends anyway. So sophomore year, when I got my car, I would shoot to the crib at my mom's house, and I would go over and take my lessons with Mike.
At the crib?
At his crib.
At his crib, yeah.
Yep. And it turned out that was the best thing ever. Wow. Because, like if I would have gone to New York, I probably would have been cool, but Shenandoah gave me that space where I could, like I mentioned a little earlier, where I was able to become connected with the music and really know myself.
Gotcha.
And Mike put me on. Yeah. I thank him every time I see him. Mike put me on to that Curtis Fuller gig.
Wow. Yeah.
In 2002 at Blues Alley. From that, wow. I became cool with the person who booked it, and then he started putting me on. Wow. Jason Franklin, he's put me on to. And on that particular gig with Curtis Fuller,
was Monte on that too?
Nah, not on that one.
Okay.
It was Wallace, Wallace Roney, Javon Jackson, John Hicks, and the first year was Carl Allen.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And then they called me back to do it the next year.
Wow.
The next year was the same band with Jimmy Cobb.
Okay. So you was playing with the heavyweights. Now,
right off, and it was crazy. I remember when Mike called me, man.
Now, were you nervous?
I was nervous as hell, man. Man, bro. When Mike called me,
yeah.
I remember I was in my house in Winchester, and Mike called me. He's like, Corcoran, yeah. Look, man, got this gig. I need to know if you're available to do it. And I was like, all right. I was nervous because I was out there, I was just shedding. And I was like, man, you start kind of losing yourself a little bit, or you think you're losing yourself, even though you're building yourself up. You just don't know it. And Mike was like, yeah, I got this gig, man, Blues Alley. And I was like, damn, Blues Alley. I was like, I hadn't even played at Blues Alley before at that point. I hadn't.
Got you.
And I was like, Blues Alley, okay. And then he was like, yeah, it's with the Curtis Fuller Sextet. I was like, Curtis Fuller, like the trombone player, like Blue Trane, like Art Lakey and the Jazz Messengers, the Curtis Fuller I was just listening to like 10 minutes ago. He was like, yeah. I said, Mike, can I call you right back? I said, my bad, I'm gonna call you right back. And I was like, okay, call me right back. And I put the phone down. I said, what? And I was just like, hold on. I was like, I don't know about this.
Wow.
I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I thought to myself, and I called Mike. I said, Mike, you think I'm ready for that? You really think I'm ready to play with Curtis Fuller?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, man.
Wow.
He's like, I know you're ready. He's like, but you got to know that you're ready, and this is the only way to get ready.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was the thing, and that was a blessing because a lot of people don't get those opportunities anymore.
No doubt.
And so I did it, man. I showed up. I was there early. I was listening to all this stuff.
Yeah.
I remember the first tune they called was A La Mode. It was bright too. It was pretty fast.
Yeah.
And it just started. And I was playing. I was like, oh snap! And I was like, and I was just looking around. I was like, damn! I was like, Wallace Roney right here, Curtis right here. I'm like, I went into the dressing room first, and I ran into Wallace, and I started talking to him, and I was like, well, so how does it feel to be home? And he was like, this ain't my home. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I was like,
I think he's from Philly.
He's from Philly, but I knew he was. He lived here. He lived here. Went to Howard, and then I was like, oh, okay. And I said, that wasn't very warm. So I said, I went to Curtis Fuller's, and I started talking to him, and right away, he just gave me that energy. He's like, yeah, man. So man, I'm glad you're here. Yeah. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do this. Yeah. And it was all right. It was all right. The first go around, I made some mistakes, but that's how you learn. And then they called me back for the next year. Wow. And I started working with, I was still in college, and I kept those contacts. So when I went to New York. So hit everybody up. So
you graduated from Shenandoah
in 2004.
Mm-hmm. Then you went to New York to get your master's.
Right.
So
I came. Yeah, I went to Queens College. Mm-hmm. I came back to DC after Shenandoah for 2004, and then I moved to New York 2005. Okay. July 2005, and I started at Queens College.
So who were you under the tutelage of?
In Queens College, I was under the tutelage of Buster Williams.
Wow.
And Michael Mossman. Mm-hmm. He was the head of the program, and of course, and Antonio.
Antonio Hart.
Saxophone. Yep. And so, man, those were,
How was that experience?
That was great, man. That was a great experience. The thing that they made clear to me, because I was fortunate, which didn't happen often. Well, I mean, it happens now more so, but I had a tour. I got called for a tour, like the beginning of the semester. And so it was like a 3-week long thing or something like that. And I did it, and I remember Antonio telling me, all right, you just got to do your work while you're there, and then you come back. And I gained a good relationship. Wow. They were really good mentors to me during that time. And I remember I did a recording with Michael Mossman and Antonio. They had a band, a Latin band. So that kind of got me getting together, just with some professionals. Yeah. At school in Queens when I was living.
Were you going out on the scene as well?
I was going out on the scene. Of course, I was going out on the scene. I did that right away. I was going to Harlem too to study with Buster. Wow. At his apartment.
Man.
That was scary as hell, the first lesson.
I mean, with all the cats you done...
Buster checked me, man.
Really?
Yeah.
What you mean?
You know, he did what was necessary, man. I mean, look, man, I'm a very respectful dude. You know what I'm saying? But Buster, you never know. You know, they came across so many arrogant young cats.
Yeah.
That they gotta let you know who, you know.
Yeah, I got you.
Look, man, like he said, look, man, I'm gonna tell you this. He said, I said, you're a very busy young man. I'm a very busy man. I don't want to waste your time, and I don't need you wasting my time. He said, play F major. Can you play F major scale 2 octaves? And I said, sure. So I played it. Played the scale. He's like, what? He's like, you call yourself a bass player like that? Ooh. And he was like, man, look at your, you know, he's like, look at your left hand, and he checked me. He said. But he did it on purpose. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a thing that he didn't, you know. It's to get you to focus.
Yeah.
He said, I want you. He said, look, man, I need you to go home. I need you to focus on your left hand, and I need you to your bass is too tall, you know, and I need you to look in the mirror and if you don't have your left hand together and in this scale right next week, you know, then don't come back.
Wow.
And so I came back the next week. I was like, damn, I ain't never been so nervous to play a F major scale as a grown man in my life.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was like 22.
Yeah.
You know, and so I played it, and he said, okay. He said, all right, cool. So
he could tell you went.
Yeah, he could tell I went. Yeah, he could tell I went, and I was focusing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it was, you know, it was cool. So I studied with him. So I would go up to Harlem. I was living in Queens at that time. I would go to Harlem, and then the scene I would, you know, tapped into.
What was the scene like during that time when you was in college, like New York?
It was cool, man.
Because everybody that goes to New York,
it's different.
It changes.
It changes
for whatever. Yeah.
When I got there in 2005, it was different. It wasn't 1995. It wasn't 1985. It wasn't but so a lot of older cats would think that the scene wasn't, you know, it wasn't what it was because it wasn't what it was when they were coming up. But now the scene is different than it was when I got there.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, but during that time, we still had you know, Cleopatra's Needles was still kind of popping, was still respectable. You know what I'm saying? It was still like the sessions there. That's where I met like all the people who I came up with, from like Stacy Dillard to Lakeisha Benjamin. You know,
was that a jam session place?
That was a jam session place.
Okay.
And that was on Broadway.
Okay.
So it's still there, I think. 95th and Broadway, something like that.
Wow.
St. Nick's Pub. So that's Gregory. Like I used to hang out with Gregory Porter years ago, do little gigs with him for $40.
Wow.
Back then, so I saw him, and I was living in Queens at that time, so it was hard for me to get there. So I stopped doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because it was stressful.
Yeah.
And then he became who he was. Jazz Smalls, which is of course still there.
Stayed up all night.
Yes. Yeah. Sweet Rhythm was there.
Yeah.
So and Amin at that time, had came back to DC. So Amin gave me all the gigs that he had.
Wow.
Because he came back to DC.
That's love.
That's love, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so I started playing with Winnard, Harper, you know, when I was still at Queens. And then I used to play at a spot called The Garage, which was diagonal from Smalls on 7th Avenue. And Cleopatra's Needle was right there. So everything was there. We would hit at The Garage. $50, right? From 10 p.m. to 2. But that was some of the most developing sort of stuff that you can imagine. So it was always just somewhere to go. Whether you were downtown, whether you were uptown, midtown, you still had Brooklyn. It was what was it? Pumpkins was kind of like towards the end of.
You got to go out and check out different shows and all that, and hear people.
All the time. I would do that. And the level was just so high. And then if I'm playing, I just felt like I was always around musicians that were just on this high level. Yeah. So it made me really raise up and have that understanding.
So you basically, you know, because I know some people that live in New York, man, they might be, it's hard.
It's hard for them.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. But you was able to find your way.
It was never really, thank God, it was never really that hard for me. And that, I mean, I still have little moments here and there. Early on, but I was in school, you know. I made sure that I was in school and I was completing something. I was getting a degree.
And you got both
times. I got my undergrad and I had my master's.
Beautiful.
My master's from Queens.
Man, you have. I mean, your story is wonderful, man.
So I just, I stayed, and I stayed, and And it was beautiful, man. I mean, I met who's my wife now. I met Raven when.
Her name is Raven?
Her name is Raven. I met her when I was playing
some love.
Yeah, I know. I met her when I was playing with Mike Mossman and Antonio at a jazz festival at Queens College when I was there. She's a photographer.
Did you play with Roy as well?
I used to man, it was more like what happened with Roy was like in New York, when you playing at Smalls, you playing at Garage, you playing at Sweet Rhythm, you a bass player.
Yeah.
He's always there, so you start playing. Then I did and I was able to do a couple of different recordings with him, with other artists, and he was featured on it. So I was, see him. He would come and sit in. If I'm playing with my band, he would come up and So he was like Roy Hargrove, man, and God rest his soul, man. Like he was like the person who we all came up listening to, who was there. All the time. A lot of guys don't come out and hang.
Yeah.
It's like you see Kenny Garrett or something somewhere, or you're like, but you go to the spot, you walk in the room, Roy's sitting there. Roy's giving that information. He was a sharer. He was a giver. And when he passed, I remember driving through Manhattan that night, and I was listening to Roy, the family. I was listening to that joint, and I was just like, yo. Yeah. It's like, I can't believe that he passed away. Yeah. And I was looking at, I was driving down 7th Avenue, and then I came up Canal Street, and I was just looking. I was like, yo, this
ain't going to be the same.
This ain't going to be the same, bro. Yeah, and then soon after that, a lot of people started checking out. Yeah. I lost, like I mentioned earlier, I lost my father, and then it was just, and things just started changing. Then my son was born. Wow. So my whole life started transforming, and that brought a whole nother level.
Dimension. Well, man,
that's just what it is.
That's the thing about life too, man. Change, is things just like we in a different season with this thing going around. It's like wow, and we got to make the type of necessary adjustments. You know what I'm saying?
We do. We do.
Man, you have played with a who's who of jazz. Name them, you played with them. I mean, it's like, man. I mean, so, well, you're just like an in-demand bassist.
I guess so. I don't. My wife always says that I don't speak. I don't hold myself up like I don't say those sorts of things. But yeah.
Yeah, I was reading. I said, what? I was like, wow.
Yeah, thankfully enough, man, and I've been blessed to be one in demand.
Yeah, man.
Over the last
any one
years.
Any one. Are there any highlights of any in your careers thus far?
Highlights, man. Like I have so many highlights.
Yeah. Any that stand out, like.
Yeah. Well, starting from that first gig at Blues Alley, that was Curtis Fuller.
No doubt.
That was definitely a highlight because that's not something that happens every day. And then, man, touring with, sitting in the car with Al Foster and Javon Jackson and Benny Green and riding through the West Coast playing, doing hits and going overseas. So many times. I can honestly say I've been to every continent except the one place I haven't been is Australia.
Wow.
But just there's so many highlights, man. Of course, being able to play with Kenny Garrett for the last 10 years plus. That
we're gonna talk about Kenny.
That's been. It's been.
How do you remain grounded?
I'm just
having done all you talking about touring, and nationally, that's a grind.
Yeah, it is a grind. It is a grind.
It's a grind.
It is a grind.
And how do you remain balanced and grounded?
Well, I think it has a lot to do from learning from the different. I take different things from people that I play with, and I see how their lives are. I see how I know the family guys that are incredible musicians who still love their family, take care of their family. I see the guys who don't have family, who go hard. But I think the thing that really, to answer your question, the thing that keeps me grounded is kind of how I was raised, and also, you know, my wife. You know what I'm saying? I learned a lot. I'm learning a lot. You know, the pandemic.
Yeah.
It kind of helped. It kind of, as crazy as the pandemic was, and we're still in it. But when it first started, bro, like, you know, I was touring all the time. I was like burnt out, but I was doing it, and I was, you know, things were flowing.
Yeah.
But the home base was a little, you know. Of course, I love my wife. I love my son. Now I have a daughter. You know, she's 4 months old. You know, but the pandemic allowed me to really get grounded and really understand what's important, which is family. Because when you don't have that, for me, when you don't have that together,
that's right,
it's hard to really make everything else together.
Yeah,
you know, make everything work. So when that's together, it allows you to feel good about doing things that you're doing. And I had moments where, you know, oh dang, I look at the schedule, and I'm like, ooh, 6 weeks. I'll be scared to say anything.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you know, 6-week tour. What's that? It's a 6-week tour coming up, and I just be out. I mean, I come home, I'll be able to, you know, but I had to figure out, once I started being around my son every day during the pandemic, I was like, whoa. Yeah. I was like, yo, this is really, really, really beautiful, and this is gonna nurture everything else that I have to do. So, you know, I stay grounded by family, by just looking at everybody that's around me as examples of what to do and what not to do.
Gotcha.
You know, try to keep close with spiritually. You know, try to stay spiritually.
Doubt. Oh yeah, no doubt.
Centered and you know, it's an everyday process, man.
No doubt. Let's talk about my man, Kenny Garrett. Man, he's one of to me, I mean, Kenny, I mean, you're like, you know how you talking about Trane in his time? Kenny is like that to me, man. Like, he is, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he keeps that level of intensity and just creativity, day after day, night after night, week after week, year after year, man. But he's, and one thing about Kenny, I mean, there are very few, I mean, that actually created like a style. You can think of Charlie Parker, or you can go Johnny Hodges, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane. I mean, they changed, you know.
Changed thing, yeah.
I would even say Cannonball added. He added a certain thing. Jackie Mack.
I was about to say.
Grover Washington Jr.
Yep.
Kenny Garrett. Like, they actually created a thing.
Yeah, I mean, innovation.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah. And man, I felt like Kenny got there before me, because that's how I was hearing it.
Yeah, and that's funny you say that, 'cause he says it a lot. A lot of stuff that happened with him, it had to do with timing.
Really?
And I mean, of course, Kenny's a student of the music.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. As we're talking right now, if Kenny's not like having lunch or something, or running an errand, he's at the piano, or he has a saxophone in his hand right now, or if he's not playing with his grandkids.
Wow.
Kenny is that, and these are things that I learn every day just from being around him so much. He's so dedicated, man. He's so dedicated to the music, and if you're on tour with him, don't get a room close to his room, because you're just gonna hear him. You're gonna hear him wake up after breakfast at 8 a.m. He's long tones, The next thing you know, you start hearing little phrases. The next thing you know, you start hearing melodies. The next thing you know, it's just he's there.
Wow.
And the thing about Kenny, man, I mean, the awesome thing about him is, and I've seen him evolve over time. I mean, now there's been a lot of bass players in his band, you know, that I know very well, that I look up to, from Nat Reeves to Shawnette to Chris. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Chris was with Kenny for 5 years.
Chris McBride, what?
No, Chris Fun.
Okay. Oh yeah, Chris Fun.
Chris Fun was with Kenny for 5 years, and I got with Kenny in 2011. So now I think I'm probably been with Kenny the longest out of a lot of bass players. I mean, Nat him and Nat are like this. Yeah. You know, they go back 30 years, but consistently. Yeah. And I mean, being around Kenny, man, I just noticed the focus. I noticed, like, when we play, it's no excuses of getting to that place every time you play, and that's something that I'm stuck with. I'm stuck with that. Every time I play, I want to get to that place, man. Yeah. And it's frustrating if you don't get to that place, and people don't understand the musicians that you're playing with, of where you're trying to get to.
And now, is there a wall? Is there a place you get to? How much can you get? Like, I'm like, where else can you go?
Right. No. That's. I understand what you're saying from that. And when I say that place, I'm not necessarily speaking in volume. I'm not talking about volume. I'm not talking about tempo. I'm not talking about just intensity. Yeah, I'm talking about the realm, the higher place, the spiritual place. Yeah. Of being able to put yourself inside of your instrument and being able to connect. Close your eyes, even connect with everybody who you're playing with, and y'all are there, and y'all are going like this together. Wow! And that's what we've had. There's been so many moments like that I've had situations on the bandstand with Kenny where, like, for example, like, I remember, like, my best friend, and Eric I don't even think Eric knows this, but when Eric's mom passed away, I got a call from Eric. I was in Romania. I was about to hit the stage. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, yo. He told me, and it got me upset. Wow. And we had to go on the stage, and I was like, yo. I was like, Kenny's like, you all right, man? I was like, no, man. I was like, you know, my boy's born, you know. He's like, all right. He's like, all right, man. He's like, it's gonna be all right. He said, let's hit. So we hit. We started playing something. That thing it's gotten to this, like, this thing, man. Yeah. And he just went like this. He said, and he just walked away. Wow. And I just started playing or whatever. And he was just like, and I started crying, while I was playing. And he was just like, and then I just felt like, felt this release into the music. He shows me how to put myself into the music and give myself to the listener. Wow. To the audience. And even when I remember we were in the Red Sea. You talk about some moments. This is even connected to moments that we were talking about that happened. I remember we were playing a Red Sea Jazz Festival. And my father had passed away, probably a few months before. And I knew my dad would have wanted to be there. Because we had kind of mentioned it. And the ocean was right there. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like wow. And the wind started blowing, man. We started hitting. And, bro, I felt him. I felt him like crazy.
You felt his presence.
I felt his presence. Yeah. And he had some people there that he knew, some Hebrew Israelites that came from Jerusalem down to the concert, and they were out. They were from Detroit. Okay. But he knew them, and man, I felt his presence, man. And Kenny looked at me, and then again he was just like, yo, tell your story, tell your story. And Kenny, man, he's the first person, one of the first people in every band. Every band is different. I've learned something from everybody. But Kenny's thing is so intense, but he leaves so much space for you to find your way. So he was like, man, you'll find it. You'll figure it out. You'll find it. Like, when I first got there, I was playing, I was coming from playing like a lot of bebop, a lot of more straight ahead. sort of things. And I remember playing, and Kenny was like, "Yo, you got to learn how to phrase with me. You have to learn how to phrase with me." Going back to the bass lines and stuff like that. When you feel me going this way, you got to go this. You got to go this way. Or if I'm leading you, cool. If you want to lead. But he's like, but you'll find it. I didn't know exactly what he meant, but then as the years went on, I was like, damn, okay.
Yeah.
I see what he's saying.
Yeah.
And the other thing about this deep about Kenny, is that Kenny gets offered these opportunities to do, head programs, lead programs or whatever at schools, I remember a school, I'm not even going to name the school, but they put him on they made an announcement that he was the head of the program without him really doing it, without him really saying that. And I said, that's a good gig, like 6 figures, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a good gig. He's like, but nah, man. He was like, I think my calling is different. He's like, McCoy's not really, this was before McCoy passed, but he's like, McCoy's not really out here like that playing as much, Chick is always working, but a lot of cats are passing away, man. I gotta be out. I gotta play. That's my calling. That's my education. That's my gift.
Yeah.
I don't want to just take a teaching position and then just shrivel up.
Do what I'm doing. No,
yeah. But a lot of his friends were doing that. Were passing away.
Oh wow.
And he was like, I gotta be doing this because this is my my spirit.
But I'm saying, does playing that much does it take a physical toll on people?
It does. I mean, it can. It can. That's the other thing. Like I was saying, I was a little burnt out before the pandemic, and so was he.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody we get man.
Yeah.
You go on a road with Kenny,
human.
man.
Yeah.
For a month.
Yeah.
Sometimes we got 29 days of playing straight.
Wow.
It's not. Touring is not always like, oh man, I see you. So
it starts out that way.
Starts out, and then eventually, like within like a few days, that week, that next week, and then and it really changed when I had a family at home.
Yeah.
But you start being like, oh man, you got this
hotel.
You're hitting from
get on the plane,
2 sets or whatever. 5 a.m. lobby call, get on the plane, sound check, dinner. Hotel for 10 minutes, boom, boom, boom. You waiting for that off day. But the thing that's beautiful about Kenny is when you playing, you don't necessarily feel the fatigue. At least I didn't.
Yeah.
And Michael Bowie, he doesn't even know it, but he prepared me. He prepared me for this gig because Mike used to tell me, you need to play. You need to play hard. You need to play. Whenever you're playing, play hard. So when the opportunity comes and it's time for you to play, you ready and you can play.
Wow.
And I didn't know what he meant by that, but then I got it.
Kitty.
I was like, yo,
Kitty.
Stamina.
Yeah.
It's never too ridiculous.
Yeah. But the beautiful thing about Kenny too is that he might burn out, but then he put his groove on, and you get to and man, one of my favorite songs, man, is that Spanish Go Round.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
I love that song too.
Yeah, man.
That's a great tension releaser.
Yeah.
You play something crazy or something intense, and then fall into that joint. It's like,
So
something for everybody.
Man, but man. So how'd you get the gig, by the way?
All right. So this is a crazy story, but when I was playing with Javon Jackson and Anguilla, well, before that, I came and heard Kenny when I was in college at Blues Alley. And I was able to get up with him the next day. At noon, he showed up to Blues Alley and he played piano and he played some tunes or whatever. At that time, bro, it took me like 30 minutes to learn, what's that song, man? Chief Blackwater. It's not even a lot of changes, but I was just so like, you know. So Kenny was like, took my card. And then fast forward a few years, I saw him in Anguilla when I was playing with Javon. I gave him another card. And he said, oh, yeah, okay. And then I got a call one day. I was sitting in Brooklyn in the house. This was like 2007, 2006. Right before I graduated from Queens College. And he was like, yeah, it's Corcoran Holt? I was like, yes. He's like, Kenny Garrett here. And I was like, oh. I was like, hey. Like, how you doing, Mr. Garrett? He was like, yeah, I'm good, man. I have this tour coming up. wondering if you could make it. I said, I have your number here, or whatever. And I was like, okay. He was like, do you know all of my music?
Wow.
And I was like, well, I don't know all of your music, but I mean, I know some of it. I could learn it. He's like, all right, can you play something for me real quick over the phone? So I played like minor blues or something. I was like, welcome to the solo or whatever. And he was like, all right. He's like, all right, I'm gonna call you. He's like, sounds good. I'm gonna call you right back. Call me back. Oh yeah, man. So I was just talking to my manager, man. I think I'm gonna go with somebody that knows all my music for this go round. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go with somebody that knows all my music. And I was like, damn.
Wow.
I said, yo, that's an opportunity blown. Like I should just told him I knew his music, but I wanted to be honest. Yeah. And I was still in school, and I was just kind of still getting acclimated to New York. Yeah. And I was just like, yo, that's quite a jump. But and I was blown after that. I was like, yo, I cannot believe, I've ruined that opportunity. So then, fast forward, 2011, Nat was leaving the band. Nat Reeves was leaving the band. Benito had been in the band, and Benito was in the band. And he was like, yeah, phone rang. Yeah, Corcoran Holt, hi, this is Kenny Garrett. I was like, hey. I was like, how you doing? He's like, good, man. I got you. I was talking to Benito, and because me and Benito,
Yeah.
And he mentioned your name again. I saw I had your number. Man, I got this tour coming up. You know all my music? Like, yeah. I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. I said, yeah, I know. I know it. I know it. I knew what to say.
Yeah.
I just told him yes. Yeah. He's like, okay, cool. Well, we got some hits in California out on the West Coast, coming up, quartet. Can we get together at the house? And I was like, sure. Yeah. So I went over to the house, me, him, and Benito.
Did you know all his music at the time?
No.
So you had to learn it?
I learned it, but I knew more of it, and I knew the sound. I mean, I've been listening to Kenny forever. I just didn't answer it the correct way. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, now Christian McBride knows. Yeah, he knows Cedar Walton's whole book.
Yeah, wow.
He had been doing this for a while.
When someone says, "Do you know my music?" Yeah. Do they literally mean all of them? Like Jahed from African Exchange student?
I know. That's what I didn't know. I knew I had his music, and if we got together, we're gonna play what we're gonna play, and I'm gonna learn. Did
you try it out, or did you?
Nah, I never tried anything out with Kenny. No.
You just learn it?
I learn it. We play. He sits at the piano. He says, He says, yeah, and he just plays it.
So when he does a gig, does he have a set list, or does he go right into?
No, it's not a set list. But after you play with him for a while, depending on the album, like I've done 3 albums with Kenny. Wow. And the tour, he starts to figure out the songs that he likes to play first to get the audience's attention, and then he shapes the set, and then we're on tour, so it starts to come together, and then eventually you start hearing this and hearing that, or he'll read the audience and you can tell what we need to do. And I mean, we'll have a certain amount of tunes that we're really, really looked over and we're real tight on.
Do y'all rehearse?
Not as often as we had to.
So it's basically on the job.
Yeah, it's on the job, man.
Wow.
It's on the job and sound checks. We run a sound check, we get the vibe, we get the feel. It had to get to a point, when you're in a band for a long time, and you start to you gain trust. You gain trust. So, I know that. I mean, I ain't meant to be perfect, but I know Kenny trusts me. Yeah. To a certain extent. So if he calls something, he knows that I'm gonna be able to hear it, or I'm connected enough with the piano player where we gonna be able to work it out. And but he understands that's the beauty of it. You see, you got all of these perfectionists. Yeah. Kenny came up with Miles, with Freddie, with Woody, Ellington Band. I mean, he's come up with some structured, definitely but some innovators. In their own way. Yeah. So Art Blakey. Yeah. You're hitting, you're learning your way through the music, and that's what we do. That's what we do in his band.
That's a lot of pressure, though.
It is a lot of pressure, but when you get used to it, when you get, just like with anything,
Yeah.
Fatherhood is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I'm in a whole nother stage than you're in.
Yeah. No doubt.
You are straight. You've been doing this for some time.
My kid's grown.
Yeah. Yeah. See, mine.
Yeah. It's all good.
But that's it's on the job training.
Well, yeah. Wow. But that's good for young people to know that, because sometimes going through school, you used to, okay, we're having a test next week. Everything gonna be provided for you, and you're gonna be coddled, right. And so, but wow, that's good to know, man.
The test is the bandstand.
Yeah, I want to make a shameless plug. Mm-hmm. Please tell Kitty I would love to interview him one of these days.
Oh yeah, I will. I'll tell him. I definitely will.
Sorry, Kitty.
I definitely will. I tell him, man.
Yeah.
I tell him.
But man,
he always whenever we play in DC, he always looking for you too, man. He knows.
Yeah, I've been in these bands, man. Every time he would come, I would have a gig on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
yeah.
So, but yeah, definitely want to interview him, man.
For sure.
I mean, we have some final questions, man.
Yeah.
Okay, you're a leader. Mm-hmm. And we were before this we were talking about. I bought your CD. Mm-hmm. It was entitled "The Mecca."
That's right.
Yeah, when I saw the title, man, the first thing that came to my mind was somewhere over there in the
desert.
In the desert, or Howard University.
Right.
You call it the Mecca.
The Mecca.
Black.
That's right.
You call it the Mecca.
That's right.
But what is the Mecca?
The Mecca is New York City.
Okay, so that was so your album, was that the inspiration?
That was the inspiration of the album. Was me being from Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
Going to New York,
mm-hmm.
meeting all of these amazing musicians
mm-hmm.
who I've been fortunate enough to come together and play with in my
mm-hmm.
career.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody being from different places, coming to the Mecca, which is New York.
Yeah,
the land of where the creatives gather, and we all have grown together. So everybody that's on the album, I met in New York, and I don't even think anybody on the album is from New York, except for the percussionist, except for Rudy.
So who's on the album, by the way?
So it's Stacy Dillard
mm-hmm.
on tenor and soprano,
mm-hmm.
Josh Evans on trumpet, Benito's playing piano, McClinty Hunter on drums, got Russell Malone, guitarist on
is that Imani? Who's singing?
That's Mavis.
That's
Mavis
Swamp.
Swamp,
Okay.
She's singing on the track.
Okay.
Rudy Bird,
mm-hmm.
percussion. Andre Murchison,
mm-hmm.
trombone.
Okay.
Richard Padron on guitar.
Wow.
As well. So it's an album that kind of it deals with some trio, some quintet,
mm-hmm.
some solo stuff.
Beautiful, man. I listened to it, man. It's really
kind of goes through everything.
And you got it, and you really showcase some of your original composition.
Mm-hmm.
So is writing a big part of what you do as well?
It's become more.
You write some nice.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. I really dug the tune. I dug the ebb and flow of the emotion, like the. Okay, you took me. It was like a journey.
Yeah, and that's basically what I wanted to capture. I wanted to capture my journey. Like that's I wanted to make something where I could listen to it 20 years from now and be like, that's a good record.
And what's funny? Before I knew who, I said I thought I knew that was Benito.
Mm-hmm. On Sharp Radway is also playing piano.
Okay.
On the medium tempo stuff,
yeah, I knew.
You can hear it. You might be able to hear a difference.
Yeah, Benito, man, he got a certain sound.
That's my cat.
Now, who played drums?
McClinty.
Where's McClinty from?
He's originally from Detroit.
Okay, yeah.
But he grew up in Maryland.
Okay.
Columbia. Then he went to Howard.
Yeah. Yeah, and McClinty we used to play.
Mm-hmm.
HR and all. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Man, all the cats, man, converged on New York.
My dudes, man.
Yeah. Do y'all still hang? Do you hang?
We talk.
You and Eric hang in New York?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Man, so
all the time, as much as we can. I mean, everybody's busy now.
Now you have the Corcoran Holt Quintet.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a different mindset being a leader as opposed to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So briefly. Yeah.
When I'm playing with other people, I don't have to worry about what everybody else is necessarily doing.
Yeah.
When you're a leader, You're thinking about people showing up on time. You think about presentation. You're thinking about
interacting with the
audience. What tune goes next? Being on the mic. Yeah. I enjoy being a leader. Mm-hmm. Thinking about accommodations for your cats.
Yeah.
Like, when is everybody going? Is everybody cool? Is everybody going to eat?
Yeah.
Why is this person showing up looking homeless? when they know they shouldn't be dressed like this right now, or
and the personalities,
are the personalities, But fortunately, my band, my regular band, everybody's cool, everybody's connected. Stacy and Josh are like that, Benito, me, Benito, Mac, we got our thing, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, so everybody compliments each. So it was easy. That was the funnest session. To do, man. Yeah. I mean, we were just hitting. Yeah. We got together the night before, went in the studio,
really
hit.
Wow.
But we all know each other.
Yeah. So and y'all, the chemistry.
Right.
You knew
the chemistry was there.
Yeah. Final questions, man.
Yeah.
You mentioned throughout this interview, like, about your kids, your wife. What is it like? I mean, what has that experience been like, being a father and a husband?
It's been beautiful, man. Really, I've learned a lot. It's like we talk about, you learn something every day. It's been inspiring. Mm-hmm. It's been inspiring, like, on a different level.
Okay.
It's become so important. I realize that, truthfully, it's the most important thing. Yeah. Man, my wife, Raven and I, our story is heavy. We kind of grew up together. We went through all these different things.
Wow.
We were tight. We drifted apart.
Yeah.
Then we decided that we wanted to spend our life together. Mm-hmm. And then when my son was born, my father was ill, so he never got to really meet my son. But he passed away when my son was little, was one. My son's he just turned 4 a few days ago. But losing my father and becoming a father,
yes,
that's probably something that's changed me. Yeah, the most. Wow. It just puts a whole nother perspective on life in general. Yeah, looking at my kid, wanting to. Now my children, wanting to be a good example.
You just had a little girl.
Yeah, Freedom.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So, looking at them, I know I want to be a good example for them as a father. So I want to be the best father I could be. I want to be the best husband I could be. Mm-hmm. I want to be the best musician I could be.
No doubt.
And just the best man I could be, in everything that I do. And I mean, it's on the job, man.
Brother.
I'm trying to just do everything that I could do for them, and the challenge sometimes is when you're used to doing what you do, being a musician, touring, wanting to be a part of everything.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. So I had to kind of get used to being able to make everything one. Yeah. And understand that I can't do everything, but I know what I have to do. Yeah. And what I have to do is be.
Sometimes it's just about finding a balance.
Find that balance. Yeah. Exactly.
It's
gotta find that balance. So that's what I'm working on.
It's like you gotta and make sure you leave room for you, because
you have to.
So it's all about every time every time I see Herbie Hancock, he always talking about having your life in order. Mm-hmm. And so order. Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
And so
it is an order.
It'll things will they'll work their way out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they work and they really are working their way out, man. It's it's a daily thing, man. New York, being in New York with 2 kids and now having a connection back home. Yeah. In DC and having family, and just everybody just trying to. Yeah. That's the goal.
No doubt.
It's just to have a beautiful life. And be able to still be creative and still be able to go like this artistically and still be able to go like this as a man, as a husband, as a father.
No doubt.
So,
yeah. Now, real quick, you spoke a lot about your dad. Mm-hmm. How's your mom been to you?
Oh man, yeah. My mom is, my mom is so just so important to me and just such a big part of me and a part of who I am. I'm a lot like my mom.
Okay.
You know, I'm a lot like my father too, though. But you know, I think as of late I've reflected so much on my father because he passed away.
Yeah.
But my mom has just, man, she is just the perfect example of love, of a healer.
Yeah.
You know,
you felt a lot of love coming up.
Oh yeah, I felt a lot of love coming up, and I've watched my mom save people's lives.
Wow.
Since I've been little. So my mom like when I say truly a healer, she truly is a healer.
Wow.
If you talk to anybody that knows my mom, you know a lot of people that know my mom, you just don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I met your mom.
Yeah, you met my mom. Like
yeah.
she's, you know, my mom is, she's so, she means so much to me, man.
Beautiful, yeah.
She's everything, man. And
is she living down here?
She is.
Okay, so
she's
close to the
she's
grandkids,
close.
man.
Yep, she's close. You know, she gets to see her grandbabies, and she, you know, she's happy, man. She's my mom is creative. My mom is truly the other artist in the family. I believe if my mom she not had me and my sister, she would have been, you know, and she wouldn't say this, but I would say this. She would probably be like Angela Bassett or on a level of like of a woman as far as like talent is concerned. My mom, she's extremely talented, and but she cares, and she cares about the next generation. She cares about, and I'm a lot like that now, as well as my father was that way too. You know?
And your sister, what's her name?
My sister's name is Casman.
What is she?
Casman Holt. She is, man. She is high up in the DC government. She was working very very closely with the mayor for many years.
Okay.
But she oversees projects, funding. She's like when you're seeing in schools, you know, if something's not up to code, something's not working. She's checking all of that out. There was a point also where she was overseeing a project for the homeless shelters in DC.
Okay, wow.
So she's 4 years younger than me.
Yeah.
But she's like my sister. I'm the artistic person who goes like my sister is just
gotcha.
Intelligent. As
Are
far
y'all
as intelligence,
close?
We're close. We're close.
Yeah.
We're close. We become close over time. Every family has their has their things. I was always being me, going back to being, you know, focusing on music and leaving DC and going to New York. You know, those, you know, it's not a selfish thing, but it's kind of self-centered in certain ways, you know. But we have to be that way if we want to be, who we are. So that kind of, I didn't realize that it caused strain between me and her, but you know, we've grown together, and we've always been tight. You know? Wow. And now my son and my daughter are the same age as me and her.
Wow.
Me and her as far as being apart.
Man, your life is like a storybook, man.
It is, man. I'm telling you.
So what's next for Corcoran Holt?
Well, it's a lot is next, man. Well, as far as gig wise, I'll be with my band. You'll probably show this later after this is over, but I'll be with my band at Blues Alley on Tuesday. Yeah. Trying to work on another project. I'm kind of between New York and DC right now. You know, I want my family to be closer, and you know, we're planning the next step. Me and my wife are planning the next step on what we're gonna do. But I definitely want to record a new project with my band out of New York, and I'm focusing also on starting a collective in DC of some great musicians that we all coming up together. I want to create something nice from that, and man, bro, I really want to work with the younger generation as far as inspiring the younger generation. I've always had a dream of having an art center in Washington D.C. in the inner city. Growing up in Petworth, I would love to have it like right there, even though DC has changed so much. But I feel like somebody like myself, who's been gone for so long, I want to.
The prodigal son, y'all.
I want to bring everything that I'm learning and everything to to DC and pass it and inspire the younger generation and inspire the older generation to let them know that that we good. You know
it's
what I'm saying?
It's funny because I kind of want to do the opposite. I've been doing that for the last 25. I've been working with the young people. I want to do what you do.
Right.
I want to get on I want to get on that road.
Yeah.
Well, not on the road necessarily, but I want to be in a situation where I'm playing consistently with the right cats.
Yes.
And yeah. So.
And I want to and believe
still,
me, I'm not stepping away from that.
Oh, no doubt.
But that
and I ain't stepping away from getting back. But it's this has been good to me, but
I know.
I got some music
in
me, man. Yeah, and I'm trying.
I could dig it, man. Yeah, and that's
why
that's exactly, man. That's what I want to always be able to play and be able to grow.
No doubt.
Artistically, be on the road. But I want my family to be good, and I want to. And I came from a beautiful place, man. DC. Yeah. When I came up, I mean, that's why everybody's doing the things that they're doing, because we were inspired by people that were a little older than us and much older than us. We had a scene. I mean, it's different. It's different now, but I want to be one of the people to be able to bring some energy.
Yeah.
Some different energy.
Yeah.
And being from DC.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something I like to do for the community as well.
You ready for the last question?
Yes, sir.
How can people contact you and learn about what you're doing?
Okay, so you can contact me at corcoranholt.com. That's my website. Of course, social media. Instagram, Corcoran Holt. Facebook is Corcoran Holt. Twitter. Email, which is listed on my website. But really, you'll see me on social media a lot. I'm on social media a lot, and so yeah, you can contact me through there, man. Through there.
And how can they get your CD?
You get my CD. My CD is available digitally everywhere.
Okay.
Of course. Hard copies, cdbaby.com, and also you can contact me for signed CDs.
Do you bring them to your gig?
I do. I bring them to my gigs.
Okay.
I bring them to my gigs, and I sell them there. So you could find it. Digitally everywhere.
Okay.
Of course.
Well, my brother, man, man, I want to thank you.
Oh man, thank you,
for coming on, man.
That's a pleasure, man. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. These stories these stories really have meaning. When you your time coming up in DC is just as valid as my time coming up in DC, and to share that and document that period of when you was coming up and what even when you were in New York, and so that's why I do this, because we all got a story, and we need to. I think part of passing things on is telling stories, it's called grit, whatever. Griot. I'm saying grit. Yeah. But I'm saying, but part of that is storytelling, but I think that's when people learn them stories. Because I remember when I was coming up, man, I was into Charlie Parker, man. I would read A Bird Lives and them books, man, and my imagination would go to a place as if I was actually living back then in the 50s or 40s, whatever, and just imagine some of the stories that I read about birds. So,
yeah, man.
But our stories is just as valid. So no doubt. That's what this is about, man. I learned a whole lot about you,
man.
Yeah, man, and man, it's like now I'm gonna go. I listened to your CD this morning. I'm gonna go listen to it again, because now, knowing a little bit more about you, I'm gonna hear it differently.
Oh yeah,
you did?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's the thing, man. I appreciate you having me, man.
Oh man, thank you, man. And
this is really good talking to you. And
thank you, man.
As it's been so many years.
Yes, sir.
As I feel like I'm a lot older now, so I could. I'm able to have that conversation with you, brother. It means a lot.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Always respect you, man.
Oh, appreciate you. Thank you,
sir.
Corcoran Holt, y'all. Yeah, there it is. This is A Conversation in Jazz, and we'll see you on the next one.